What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room channel. My God, it feels great to be saying that. And today we are joined by three very, very special guests. First of all, we're joined by James Dino, otherwise known as James Dean. How are you, James? You good?
Yeah, a bit of a dramatic day, but I'm good. I've got to do teaching after this on a subject I know nothing about, so I'm just winging it. Pretty much what we do every week here, so I feel like we're prepped.
That's exactly it, mate. That's exactly it. We're also joined by Kev in the bottom corner. Kev, you all right, mate?
I'm very well. I'm just getting me bag ready for Paris to leave tomorrow, so I'm in good spirits at the minute.
I can imagine, mate. I can imagine. I'm gutted. I can't be going. My ticket actually did come out in a ballot, but it's I have got my uncle's getting married on Saturday. I'm absolutely gutted. But yeah, and also we're joined by a non-Liverpool fan on the LFC Transfer Room, but a very good friend of mine, Mr. Karim, who is sporting probably the best beard I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm in deep enemy territory here as well, but yeah, no, the beard's a bit overgrown at the moment. I need to cut it down. Getting a bit more homeless by the week, really.
Yeah. So first of all, Has, before anything, I don't detect a Spanish accent there.
No.
So why do you support Real Madrid? How did it come to fruition?
It's a really strange story, really. So when I was, this is when I was back at primary school, really, sort of back in the primary school. I wasn't actually natively a football fan for most of my formative years as a kid, because I didn't come from a footballing household. My younger brother doesn't interest in it. My dad has no interest in it either. Was aware of it, but not interested. But all my mates at school were all like your typical sort of Arsenal, United, Liverpool fans. But my dad is basically just completely skinheaded as well, and obviously being from Asian background, slightly tanned. So a few of them turned around and said to me, "Oh, your dad looks like Zidane." I wasn't too sure who that was in my formative young years at that point in time. So I went home and I asked who it was, got shown some videos and stuff, been pretty much obsessed ever since.
Well, there we go, mate. There we go. And the rest is history. Two absolute behemoths of European football, Liverpool and Real Madrid, James. First of all, I know this is sort of like a pre-preview because we're already doing another preview on Friday. But how's your heart at the moment, mate? How are you feeling?
Do you know what? I was all right with it. It wasn't bothering me. I was just like, yeah, all right. It didn't have the same sort of, oh crap, it's a European final feel to it. But as the days go on and the hours pass, and the disappointment from the league goes away, you're like, oh crap, this is a European final against Real Madrid. This we've got a bus parade, and I don't want to do a bus parade with just the League Cup and the FA Cup. It'd be terrible. So now it's starting to feel the pressure of it and stuff like that. So getting quite excited about it now, and it's just it's one of those where it just pops in your head and you're like, oh crap, that's Saturday.
Yeah, just a little bit, Kev. I mean, we've got a good record against Real Madrid in Paris, Kev. 1981 was the last time that happened. Have you got all the good omens ready for you? Are you taking any lucky things to Paris?
I don't need them. The luck is with the team at the minute. I treat this big boys games for big teams, and I class ourselves as one of them. So this is a nice way to end the season. European royalty, aristocracy. I can't even say the word, but you got European royalty in a final combined of 19 European Cups. Doesn't get any better than that.
Certainly doesn't, and it'll end up being 20. Whatever happens.
Yes.
At the end of that day, Hat. I'm going to ask to you, mate. I'm going to go to you. Who's under more pressure going into the final on Saturday? Is it Real Madrid, Giants, 13 Champions Leagues, and they've just won a Spanish first division title, La Liga, obviously. I'm just going on Football Manager. Or is it on Liverpool, who are probably, arguably, on paper, the favourites?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, from a Madrid perspective, obviously, given their history in the competition and all that sort of thing, the demand of being in the final is always high. I mean, they expect to make deep runs in this competition regardless as to what the situation is domestically and through the season anyway. But in terms of this specific season, I don't think many of us expected to really make it this far as it's gone on. We've kind of just been going off the vibes of how it's rolled out. When we got out the group stages and stuff, despite having a couple of hiccups, that big loss to Sheriff as well, and spluttery performances against Inter Milan, and then into the round of 16 against PSG. I was like, okay, they're a very strong side, PSG, for all the sort of laughs and quirks about them as a club, but they're a solid side. And that very first leg, it was a very depressing performance from us in Paris, to be honest. So since then, obviously, it's just been comebacks and vibes really for us. So it's a hard one to say. Historically, yes, there's probably plenty of pressure on Carlo Ancelotti, but from the point of view of the fact that we've made it this far, I think that's a success in itself. So I feel like there's probably more pressure on Liverpool given the fact that they have that favourites tag, even if it's only marginal.
Yeah, I'm going to
go. When the Spanish media start calling Real Madrid lucky, when the Spanish media are referring to Real Madrid as lucky, we're the favourites.
Yeah,
exactly.
It certainly goes that way. I mean, Kev, on Real Madrid, I don't know how much you've seen of them this year, but why do you think we can exploit them? Because there's certainly a lot of threats in this Liverpool team in certain different areas. So where do you think the key to winning the final lies?
The midfield battle. If you can nullify Modric, Kroos, Casemiro, if he's in there as well, we have to nullify the ball going to the likes of Kroos and Modric, because they will ping balls like Thiago does for us, and we'll be looking at that ball over the top, over Trent's shoulder or Robbo, depending on what side they're on. That's where we need to be a little bit better. That's where I think if we win that battle, I think then we can nullify that and come out on top for me.
From a Real Madrid perspective, Haas, do you agree with that? Or do you think that's your biggest weakness?
I wouldn't say necessarily weakness, but it's definitely the key area for both sides. I think definitely because, if you sort of restrict our tempo in the middle, you pretty much kill everything going forwards, because, we haven't got a great, ball progressing back line outside of David Alaba. We really don't have much in the way of players who can play out from the back. And Courtois is not exactly the greatest keeper with his feet either. So it literally is a case of the three in midfield and Benzema dropping in and Vinicius doing some bits as well. So if you can sort of suffocate the midfield, yeah, you absolutely do more or less shut Madrid's entire thing down.
James, on that though, it doesn't matter how much you shut the rest of Real Madrid down. If you give Karim Benzema a chance in the 18-yard box, it always seems as if he can pluck something out of nowhere, especially those goals against Manchester City. I thought and PSG as well. He just seems like he can pluck something out of nowhere. Is that something we need to be wary of?
Yes, we need. Right, yes, we definitely need to be wary about it. But something just doesn't sit right. Where is this 36-year-old athlete, supreme being come from? What's happened? He's not suddenly become vegan and suddenly, got an extra 20 points in him a match and suddenly an extra 5. Something smells rotten, but it is what it is. Whether that's true, whether it's not, whether he's just actually made some positive changes in his life, we'll never know. If he gets an opportunity, we need to make sure that we're all over him. I think the side he likes to go on is the Van Dijk-Robertson side, which is probably not a joyful side for him if you think he's going to be one-on-one against Van Dijk. I think he's going to have to try and do something that's not comfortable for him, which is attack the other side, which is your Matip and Trent side. So it's out of the norm in terms of his positional shooting and stuff like that, but he's good enough to deal with it. I'm just ranting about him because it seems like it's come from nowhere. This Ballon d'Or top player, and yeah, just feels a bit sussy to me.
I can see Haas seething down there. It's his baby.
No, not quite seething, mate. I'm just it's kind of it's interesting to sort of hear it when you sort of see people asking like, where does that come from? It's always been there, but obviously at Madrid for the large part it's been muted because of CR7. So he's largely had to sort of play as a supplement role in that sense. But if you go back to when he was at Lyon, for example, these signs were all there. They were always there. It's just he's always been secondary man for so long. So now that he's been given that main sort of stay push forward as you're the man now, you're seeing all those assets that he's always had. He just hasn't had a chance to really put them forward.
A bit like Chris Froome, I guess. He was always the water carrier in the Tour de France,
Yeah,
and then
literally, exactly that.
and then
Absolutely.
on the bounce.
Yeah.
Another one. Just on that. Sorry, Chris. Just to come in on that. You look at his stats when CR7 was there, and he's changed those assists straight into goals straight away immediately after he leaves, and he has become the player that, as I said, is always been there. I think he sacrificed himself a lot on the CR7 when he was there, and it kind of helped the team a lot. And it's something that Bale wasn't willing to do, which is why he's probably fell out of favour with a lot of the fans because of his actions on and off the field. So having said that, Benzema has been absolutely unbelievable for the last 3 seasons for me.
Yeah. On that, Kev, though, I'll come straight back to you. Another incredible individual, I would say, and I would say incredible this season, is Vinicius Junior. A player who has been inconsistent for Real Madrid since his arrival, but he seems to have blossomed into a machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And he plays well with Benzema. And in any time you're starting Benzema, you're probably having to put in Vinicius as well because of the combination, the partnership that both of them have. It hasn't worked all. As you say, he has been inconsistent, but for this season, he's been unreal. Do you know what I mean? Even against us in the 2021 season in the Champions League, he ran riot against us. Do you know what I mean? Him and Benzema. Do you know what I mean? So we couldn't cope with that. And he's shown the talent that everyone knew was there. It's taken him a little bit of time. I think helping with Benzema as well up front and showing him how to play. Superb, honestly.
Certainly is. I mean, I've done a bit of a calculation. The last 3 times Liverpool have gone out of the Champions League, it's been to Spanish sides in the city of Madrid. And it might be a little hoodoo, but James, going off the last game last season, 3-1 aggregate defeat. I think there could be a danger of looking back on that because Liverpool as an identity and as an entity are so different. Would you take anything from that game last year?
I think the game last year we were outthought. Like Modric and Kris were just a step ahead of all our midfield that night. They found space and they just moved us around wherever they wanted. They got whatever position they wanted and they did what they wanted, which was knock us out. And I think Kev nailed it when he said it comes down to the midfield. And I think for me, Fabinho's the one that Thiago, yes, he's brilliant to watch. He makes space, he's little touches. But Fabinho can destroy that midfield if he is fit. And I mean fully fit. Because they're clever enough in the mind to give themselves a yard. Are they good enough to get 2 yards so that Fabinho doesn't get to them? That would be the big question for me in the final.
From Real Madrid perspective, Hass, are you taking anything from last season? Any confidence from that game?
In dribs and drabs, to be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, the backline that you guys put forward had Nat Phillips and Ozan Kabak in it for a start, right? I mean, that's immediately a write-off for you guys straight away. Because let's be honest, both of those guys are abysmally bad footballers. But there was actually some merit on the fact that if Kris and Modric are firing and you guys do sort of sit back off them like you did last year, that can pose problems for you because they can pick holes, as the guys have mentioned earlier as well, out of nowhere and just ping them around for fun. And given that you've got very attack-heavy fullbacks as well, in particular Trent, who does sometimes have lapses in judgment and leave those gaps, for them to pick up Vinicius Junior opening in space, it's a big dangerous sort of game for you guys. So you really have to be on ball in terms of where your lines are and all that kind of thing. So that's probably the only thing I take away from that game. But generally speaking, I don't take too much away from it because both sides were in a weird stance in that season. To be honest, you guys were in a crisis of a season, generally speaking. We were absolutely battered by injuries all over the gaff. So, to be honest, yeah, it's a hard one to say too much from. And then even the one before that in the final of 2018, that was so long ago, it's irrelevant at this point now.
Yeah.
One of the things that's got me this season about Real Madrid is it's their tactics in the Champions League is not about winning the game straight away. It's about getting that rotational sub on, isn't it? It's Camavinga, Rodrigo, and then Kroos and Modric make the team run, and then they bring on these two players who just sprint, and it's almost like a tactical play. Is that what you're expecting to happen?
More or less, yeah, because at the end of the day, we can't sit back as Liverpool. Obviously, you guys are pressing monsters. There's no two ways about it. That you're a very, pushy side in that sense. So we can't afford to sit back and get suffocated like that. It never ends well for Madrid, and every time it's happened to us this season, we've always seemed to fall apart under it. But yeah, that is a big thing. Camavinga coming on has been quite a surprise, to be honest. I mean, we all knew he was talented. There's no two ways about that. Everyone knew that Camavinga was a talented player. But the sort of impression that he's given in the games that he's come on in, and especially some of these big ones as well. I mean, Champions League semi-final, he's playing it like he's playing in his back garden practically. He just doesn't seem fazed by the magnitude of it. I think it's the fearlessness of youth in this team, as well as the established heads. It's like made a really nice concoction of, sort of organised chaos in a way.
Rodrigo Goes has, and I'll go to you, Kev, on first one. That he has been remarkably inconsistent. Another one, especially within his minutes. But how has he come out of this? And it sort of reminds me a little bit of Divock Origi. He's come out of absolutely nowhere, and he's made a massive impression. And if it wasn't for him, Real Madrid would not be in this Champions League final.
True. No, it's true. The thing with Rodrigo is, and the funny thing is, when we initially bought him, he actually had more hype around him than Vinicius did, which is, probably a strange thing to fathom at this point in time. But the thing with Rodrigo, he's been wildly inconsistent. The thing with him is his finishing has always been really good. His end product is fantastic. It always has been since he's been at Madrid, and he's been in those positions to finish. But yeah, as of late, he's imploded out of nowhere, and I just don't know where he's suddenly found this form from. I think in his last 10 or 11 games, he's got 10 or 11 goals and assists in all that period as well. So yeah, he's been massively key. So as an impact sub, like him, Camavinga and stuff like that, that energy that they bring, it just seems to, I think, overwhelm people in a sense. But it comes down to the coach in a way as well. I think Ancelotti doesn't have too much of a system involved, but he lets these guys express themselves, and I feel that's maybe why players like Rodrigo suddenly managed to just really blossom in that way.
Kev, isn't it crazy that Carlo Ancelotti was managing Everton just 12 months ago, and then now he's managing against Liverpool in the Champions League final? It's a commendable job that he's done at Real Madrid.
It is, but I think at the time he was the only one who could have come in and settled the boat and steered them to where they are now. It takes someone like Ancelotti, who knows the club, to go back in and settle everyone down. And he knows how to play with these Galacticos. He knows what he wants out of them. He doesn't ask for much off the training pitch. He doesn't ask what a Klopp wants. But at the same time, he gives them the freedom to do what they want on that pitch. And you look at times, Real Madrid don't play with any kind of formation. You can't put them down to a formation. They're all over the place at times. That's why I think where we've just mentioned about Rodrigo coming in, he's actually off the reins and can just run wherever he wants. Where you're in a set formation, you have a set plan of where you need to be, etc. With someone who's got that kind of freedom, they can just be all over the place, and it can overwhelm certain players when you've got that kind of someone with that kind of freedom to run at you. And that's why I think he's come on leaps and bounds. But there's got to be a way of trying to make that work though on a 90-minute rather than a 20-minute, hoping that he will come up with the goods.
Yeah. One thing that I've been having a discourse with Hass, as we always do, always slide into each other's WhatsApps on occasions. And James, the one thing that he's
sounds dodgy, by the way.
It's only our WhatsApps, not anything else, man.
It doesn't matter. The slide impart's the issue.
Mate, listen, anything can happen. The one thing that he has been saying is the fear that he's struck by the Colombian lightning himself, Mr. Luis Diaz. How crucial will he be in the Champions League final come Saturday?
I cannot believe the impact he's had. He's played it like he's playing on a park. You think about it, he nearly joined Spurs until we went, oh, why don't you come here? And he could have won 4 trophies. Yes, we missed out on one, but he could walk away with 3. And he can look himself in the mirror and say, I played a significant part in all of them. For a January signing, that's unreal. That's Luis Suarez level impact.
I'd argue heavier. I'd argue more.
Potentially.
I'd agree with that.
Perspective. And it's just, I think the biggest compliment you can give is people are saying, don't start Jota. And Jota's, I think, the 5th on the score power rankings in world football at this moment in time for goals per minute.
It's crazy.
It's mental. And he's going to play a massive role again, hopefully.
Carvajal and Mendy has against Salah and Diaz, which we assume is the likely starting pair on the wing and the likely starting fullback pairing. I personally feel that Carvajal and Mendy are there to be got at. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's to some degree, yes, absolutely, some degree, yes, because they are probably the weakest links on our side right now, and are prone to sort of lapses in concentration. I mean, Mendy has been better as of late, so is Carvajal, but they do have these moments where when they do get over, they lose their heads almost, and they do have that moment of just completely losing their heads. And Carvajal does rash things in particular, like lunging into challenges in the box and giving up penalties and stuff. I mean, we've seen him do it a few times over the last few years. So I'd say, yeah, if Liverpool are going to target anywhere, then yeah, the wide area is definitely our 2 spots to target. But I'd say more Carvajal than Mendy.
Yeah,
I feel like Mendy's got the pace and the physical to maybe kind of make life a bit difficult for Salah in that sense. But Carvajal, if he's not helped out by whoever starts on the right wing, it'd probably be Fede Valverde, I'd imagine. If Valverde's there, it's less of a concern because he does drop back. But if Asensio starts for whatever reason, very unlikely, but if he does, Luis Diaz will have a field day, a literal field day.
It's going to be interesting. Let's get into our combined 11 now, as we're about halfway through the stream. I'm going to start with the goalkeeper. I'll go with you, Haas, first, because you have a little bit more of an unbiased opinion. But for me, there's no contest.
I think it's closer than you realise, but I think just on the basis of distribution, I'd edge it to Alisson because he's got a better distribution than Courtois does. Courtois' distribution is a lot to be desired at times, but at the same time, Courtois has kept us in competitions, single-handedly at points this year as well. So it's very close, but I'll just edge it to Alisson on that sort of distribution point.
Kris, I'd say, and straight after this video, we're releasing another one, aren't we? Which is actually a detailed comparison between Courtois and Alisson, and it is surprisingly close on a number of categories. I think, I was quite surprised how close it was on things. I was also surprised that he was 29 years old and Alisson's 28, and there's only a year in it. I thought Courtois was about 34.
Yeah, so did I. I looked at it the other day and I was like, damn, he's a lot younger than I realised.
Yeah.
Yeah. James, having done that comparison, would you just slightly agree?
I would. For the type of football anyone wants to, it depends on the type of football someone wants to play when you look at the stats. But I think for an all-rounder, it's Alisson.
I also think just Courtois as a pure goalkeeper is wonderful.
He's just a pure shot stopper.
And I also think that Alisson's improved that side of his game because there's been a couple of times in previous years where there's been a couple of errors in him, but this year, one-on-one, Kev, he's just been remarkable.
He is your man. He is your man. 1-on-1 situations. You look at the saves he's made. I think I saw the stat where he's the top ranked keeper for 1-on-1s, especially in the Premier League. He is unbelievable, and you only have to see some of the training sessions that that Liverpool release now and again. He's done one this morning where LFC released it, and he's making these saves from nowhere. Like, do you know what I mean? You just think, wow, fantastic. I agree with Courtois. You know, I didn't realise it would be so close, but. A great shot stopper, but he's been around since 1842 or something, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's been going that long.
He's been around a long time. I mean, he was in goal when we won the Champions League way back in 2013-14. That's how long he's been a mainstay keeper. It's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Chris, someone's put in chat Courtois 30. He is 30. He turned 30 on the 11th of May.
Oh, there we go. There we are. But I'm going to make a list and we're going to post this on Twitter. See if people disagree with us. Right back. Do we want to have a conversation here, or should we just move on?
Not really.
I didn't think so. Central defenders. Right, we're just going to stick Van Dijk in.
That's undisputable. I wouldn't even dispute it.
Yeah. So now I think it's a debate between three. Because I think Militao has got potential. But I wouldn't put him above these three right now, or maybe these two.
Are you discounting Alaba?
No, Alaba's in there. Alaba's in there. I'm saying Alaba, Matip, or Konate. I'd probably just edge for David Alaba, but I think there's a very big conversation to be had about Joel Matip there.
I wouldn't disagree based on this season. And you know me, I've always memed you about Joel Matip, like for a long time I have. But this season, man, he's really stepped up. I'd say the last couple of seasons, to be fair, he's really stepped up. And, credit to him for that.
He's top quality. But Kev, where's your loyalty leaning there?
Beforehand, I would have said Matip. But then when I started looking at it properly, and you're looking at how old Alaba is, 29, and then you base it on, okay, I then look at what have you won? He's won 10 Bundesligas. He's won 2 European Cups. He's won 2 FIFA Super World Cups. He's won 5, I think, Bundesliga, FA, their equivalent to the FA Cup. He is a trophy machine. He's up there with the likes of Iniesta and stuff like that for what he's won. For me, I'd always go and lean towards someone who's won it and done it before. So for me, it would have to be Alaba. But I do agree, Matip has been phenomenal this season. I think he's great. He's been great for us coming out of defence with the ball, especially against low block teams, because then you can set traps then, because then that's where you get the ball in between the lines. Then you're hoping that the likes of hopefully on Saturday, a Cruz or a Modric come near him, and then we get in between their 3 at the back, and then you're hoping then that one of the centre halves come out, and then it leads a nice pass on to someone in the middle. But for me, it's Alaba.
Yeah, James, are you leaning that way too?
If you go off a season, just one season, this is the first time Matip has made it through an entire season without a significant layoff, and you can probably say Matip would. But Kev's right, and Haas is right. History is important, and I also think because he's Joe Gomez size, isn't he? He's 5'10".
Yeah, he's not a big guy.
He's not a big guy, but a big guy next to him, a ball playing. He's quick. I think for a high line, he's probably the quickest out of the centre backs that we're talking about. Maybe Virgil van Dijk is. We've never seen him at full flight after surgery. So, yeah, I'll go Alaba, I think.
Who would you rather face on Saturday, Haas? Would it be Matip or Konate?
I think that's a really, really tricky one, because it's like there's two sort of contrasting defenders in a sense, isn't it? You got Konate is just a wall, just a sheer physical wall. Like, you just don't want to come up against a guy like that. You run into him, you bounce off him. But then you've got, Matip, which, as you said, he sets traps. He's an intelligent defender, and he's deceptively quick, I feel, as well. So yeah, I think if I had to choose between the two of them, and it's based on who I've seen more of as of late, I'd probably say Matip right now. But there's not much in it. Really isn't much in it.
I have a feeling Konate will play.
I think based on recent consistency, yeah, because he seems to play a lot as of late.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
he's played the big games as well, hasn't
he? Yeah, absolutely.
Made his debut at Old Trafford, so can't be too bad. Well, no, one of his first games anyway was at Old Trafford.
Still undefeated.
Still undefeated, exactly.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I thought for some reason it was only at Anfield he was undefeated until I checked. He's actually just completely undefeated.
Now Virgil van Dijk is still undefeated at Anfield.
That's insane in itself.
Which is madness. Left back was Marcelo for a very, very long time, and he would have made this list 5 years ago. But I personally would edge for Andrew Robertson over Fulham Mendy. I think you would probably agree with that, huh?
Yeah, I would. I think I do like Mendy a lot, and I think he's a very good left back. But Robertson just brings more consistency to the package. He's a bit better going forward. I wouldn't say even a bit better. He's a lot better than Mendy going forward. Mendy's a bit of a car crash at times going forwards. It's a bit of both. It really depends. If you get those moments where he does freaking Zidane roulettes out the box and he pulls it off, or he's just a complete and utter car wreck going forward, and he'll play off easy passes straight to an opponent. It's really kind of whatever mood you catch him in. But yeah, I'd give it to Robertson definitely out of the two of them.
Yeah, James, I think he's going to be very, very important going in to the final. Someone who's very experienced now, and certainly riles the team up when it comes to a big occasion.
Yeah, I think Suprit put Costas will start, and I think what we're forgetting is Robertson seemed really tired in the last couple of games, and then Klopp took him out and played Costas, and then he brought him back for the final, and he was back to full song, wasn't he? I think Robertson's tank's running on empty, but I think he's got a game left in him to give everything. I wouldn't expect to be closing down across the entire pitch as he's done in the past, but I think he's definitely going to be the choice.
Yeah, Kev, I think there's no debate really. Andy Robertson will start the game and deserves to be in this combined 11, I think.
Absolutely. He is Mr. Reliable. He's Mr. Consistent. He's Mr. 8, 9 every week without fail. Just feed him up with whatever he needs. Give him some Agus. Make sure he's all right. Make sure he's nice and relaxed. And just make sure he's ready for Saturday. But I agree with what James was saying. The fact that he's had that little break and he's been brought out has probably given him a little bit more of and it has infused him in a way. And he scored on Saturday as well, like on Sunday as well. So and if you look at the FA Cup final, he has been getting up there and getting opportunities. Let's hope he can find the back of the onion net on Saturday.
Hopefully so.
But no,
hopefully so. So it's all been very civil so far, and I want to throw a spanner in the works. We'll play a 4-3-3, defensive midfielder. Now I'm going to start with you. I'm going to go straight back to you, Kev.
Go on.
Who's your choice at number 6?
I would go with Fabinho as my in fact my 3 would be sorry so if you don't mind, Kris, if I just give you my 3, is that all right? My 3 would be Thiago, Fabinho, and Modric.
So there we go. What makes Fabinho stand out for you?
I watch him every week, and I still can't understand how he understands where that ball is. It's like a sixth sense with him. He is always there. He is Mr. Demolition. He is there. He is always there, and he's probably one of the best in his position. Do you know what I mean? He is like he's the next version of a Makelele. He is absolutely unbelievable in that position. The amount of security he gives the back two, and the fact that he's all over the place. He's undoubtedly. Is there anyone else who could play for there in Real Madrid's team? I don't think they could.
This man potentially has. Are you gonna vouch for Casemiro over Fabinho?
I'm gonna have to vouch for Casemiro. He is my boy. I mean, the thing is, it does pain me though, because I actually am a really big Fabinho fan. I have been even before he signed for Liverpool. I was a fan of him at Monaco as well. He was also on the books at Real Madrid once upon a time, which makes it even more painful knowing that we had him there and didn't utilize him properly. But yeah, I do have to go for Casemiro. I think just out of the sort of factor of that he's done it, been there so many times at this point as well. And he's been so colossal in these big games for us as well. I think pedigree wins it out for me in that sense.
It's gonna be. It's times like this where I wish we had two Real fans, two Liverpool fans.
Do you know what? I might be on the other side here. I'm just looking at some stats. And I firmly believe Fabinho is one of the greatest midfielders we've had. But tackles per game, Casemiro 3 to Fabinho's 2.5. Tackle success versus dribblers, Fabinho 35%, Casemiro. Successful pressures, 40% to Casemiro to 31% to Fabinho. I mean, there's some, and this is this season's stats. There's some data behind Casemiro being, and I don't watch him every week, so it's hard for me to say. But I mean, if it's the eye test, for me, it's Fabinho because I've seen more of him. But there's some really strong data behind Casemiro.
I mean, there is this. We could do this, guys.
Two defensive midfielders.
I mean, I'd be willing to do this, Hass, if you're willing to compromise on this.
Let's see what you got.
I mean, look at this comment here. Thiago, Modric,
attack.
It's vibes that midfield, pure vibes.
stick Thiago at the 6, and then let those two ping balls. But not much pace. Not much pace going on there.
No, it's a very slow midfield. I mean, Tony Kroos is tracked alike with his running.
Yeah.
It's painful. When you see Kris trying to go for a sprint, it's painful. It's like watching him 0.25 speed. It's that bad.
So would you argue you'd have Casemiro there over Kris?
No, I wouldn't have him over Kris. I couldn't do it. I love that midfield just for the pure vibes, but I couldn't.
Let's do it. Shall we do it, boys? Shall we agree on that? Thiago, Modric, and Kris.
Yeah, but you're missing one key man. This guy,
Freddy Valverde.
I have to have him in there, man.
I don't think it can happen, pal.
I love him that much.
Uruguayan in a final. Oof, red card written all over it.
Absolutely. Right. I'm going to go with Thiago, Modric, and Kris. It's pure vibes in that midfield.
First.
I think Casemiro.
You're doing.
Who are we doing a disservice to, James?
Both Casemiro and Fabinho.
Yeah, I do agree. We are doing them a disservice.
There's an art to destroying how other teams play, and both of these are two of the best.
But James, vibes.
Destructive vibes.
Mate, we don't.
We're two DMs.
We're unlucky.
As soon as that team gets counted,
we can't leave. You can't leave Thiago out for me. I refuse. I refuse in any world to leave Thiago out, and I don't think you can leave Modric and Kris out either, unless we go 4 central midfielders. But we can't.
4-4-2. Love it.
Let's go to the front three. For me, through the middle, Sadio Mane's had a fantastic revival there, but the best player in the world at the moment for me is Karim Benzema. So I think it's probably fair, right?
Yeah, you can't put Mane in there over Benzema in any way, shape, or form. It's not even close, really.
Yeah, James,
and that's
do you
not
agree?
disrespect to Mane at all. I do like him.
Again, when you look at the power rankings and the Ballon d'Or and stuff like that, and I agree, Benzema.
Oh, don't talk to Hass about the Ballon d'Or.
Don't get me started, bro. I will get angry.
Finisher, if you're talking about a winner in clutch situations, Mane's done more of it this year.
I suppose, though, Karim Benzema has been winning in clutch situations. He literally scored hat-tricks to get Real Madrid through, you know.
It's Rodrigo that got him through, not. Yeah, Benzema has to be in. He has to be in.
Got to be Benzema, right, Kev?
Yeah, it does. He's phenomenal. And it's not just one season with him. It's been the last 2 or 3. And then even when he was sacrificed, as I've said before, he was still up there with his assists as well. Do you know what I mean? So, it has to be Benzema for me personally. But I agree with James. You only have to look at Mane, what Mane's won this season. African nations, you know what I mean? Done well there, won that for them.
The great thing about Sadio Mane is he can play anywhere across that.
Yeah, I'm all in for him on the left now.
On the left-hand side,
Okay.
Mane. We have three options here. We have three options. Four if you count Jota, but I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go Mane, Diaz, Vinicius Jr. What would be your decision?
Who's going first? Who's going to shoot?
I'll start with you, James. Actually, let's start with you, mate.
I am going Mane, and I'm going Mane because track record, history, the fact that he's won in the clutch situations, the fact that in the second half of the season where it's meant so much to Liverpool, he's been the top scorer, the fact that he has been the reason Liverpool have got to these finals. It has to be Mane.
Has?
For me, on the left at least right now, which is just speaking strictly about the left, I'll come back to Mane in a second. But for me, it has to be Vinicius. I just think in terms of, metrics, if you look at metrics in the way of chances created, successful dribbles into the penalty area, all these things, there's only one man leading these statistics right now, and it is big boy Vinny Jr. Alongside that, just in the way that he's contributed to, I'm pretty sure it's over 30 goals already this season. It might be closer to 40 at this point. In the way of goals and assists, he's just been sensational. The thing with Vinicius, and I feel like why he's going to be somewhat inevitable in these games as well, is he's a man with a point to prove at the moment. And when you're a young, hungry lion like that with a point to prove, it's a dangerous guy to be up against. Kind of like Diaz in that sense.
No conversation for Luis Diaz, Kev?
You can make an argument for him, but I think there's two ahead of him that we're talking about, and Mane and Rodrigo have done more over over this season than I would say give it to Diaz. If it wasn't, as I agree with James, if it wasn't for Mane's second half of the season, I don't think we would be in the position that we're in, or have won anything that we have done. So for me, he misses out this season, but it won't be long enough before he'll be right up there to be claiming his spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull the rank here, Haas. I'm sorry, man. Vinicius will be there probably next season, but I just feel there's still a lack of consistency to be proven over a few seasons. But the way that he's going to be one of the world's top players. So I don't think he'll really care about what the LFC transfer boys say about him. And finally,
I'd still sign him given the opportunity. I'd bring him in.
And finally, the right-hand side, Mo Salah. I think it has to be said this year, especially before Christmas. Haas, one of the best players in the world.
I'd say probably at that point for that at least 2 to 3 month stretch, he was probably joint top with Benzema comfortably. You couldn't separate those two.
Yeah, it'd just be crazy. I mean, Kev, I don't think there's any debates here really. I mean, again, you could try and wangle Diaz or Mane or Vinicius even out there, but it's got to be Mo Salah.
There's only one man. There's only one man. Look at his goals and his assists for this season. Do you know what I mean? It just speaks for itself. So you've got to have the two best players in that team, and they are Benzema and Salah.
Exactly that. And James, just quickly before we head off, got to be Salah, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's played half a season and he's won the Golden Boot in the Premier League. Because let's face it, the second half of the season he didn't show up and let Son try and catch him. It was very kind of him to do that.
Charity, right?
Exactly.
It'd be nice if, though, I want him to turn up in a final. Because I feel like he got injured in the FA Cup final. He got injured in the last Champions League final. Just for Salah's own mentality, I would like him to turn up in a final. African Cup of Nations obviously didn't go his way. I would like him to turn up in a final and have a positive contribution. Just for his own sanity. I think he needs it. So I think
you can tell by the press conferences really he's talking about it. It's like time for revenge and stuff. You can tell he's triggered right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we just have to go because there is a video premiering right now on the LFC Transfer Room channel, which is the James's Courtois and Allison thing. So make sure to go and watch that. Massive thanks to Haas. You can follow him at the Haas Karim there. Does loads of great work on the artwork of Football Daily and stuff. So you can go and subscribe to them if you want. I don't think they need us to tell that. But yeah, massive thanks to Kev and to James, who you'll see more over the coming week. And yeah, actually, you won't see Kev. You definitely won't see Kev. because he's over in Paris. But yeah, we'll catch you later. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. See you in a bit. Bye bye.